Lincon means life in control. And you're going to understand the why behind this name as soon as we finish this presentation. The MVP starts from the critical assumptions you had designed or you had found before. So, because if you do not address the most critical hypothesis first, you're going to spend money and resource to only later on your journey realize that you are missing a critical step on your journey, right? So you kill your own company, kill your own business. If you do not kill your own business, someone else will do it.
Welcome everyone to the first episode of Product Cases with Paulo Rebelo. In this series, we invite professionals that work with digital products to talk about interesting cases they have worked in their journeys. The first guest is our great Sullivan Santiago, and today he'll show us how he built his company and its product Lincon. I hope it's insightful for you, so let's jump right in. Sullivan was born in Brasilia, the capital of Brazil. He holds a degree in computer science and a postgraduate degree in software development management. He is the co-founder and CTO of Lincon Health and former partner and CTO of HaaS, one of the references in innovation in Brazil. Throughout his journey, he has helped over 12,000 entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs to create businesses that impact the economy, from companies with zero revenue to billion-dollar enterprises. A startup specialist, he has accelerated more than 450 companies, served on the advisory board of 2 of them, and participated in 2 exits, N2B and Real Valor. As a mentor for Google Launchpad, WeWork Labs, and Terra, he's highly active in the entrepreneurial community. He was one of the founders of the Association of Digital Entrepreneurs and Startups in Brasilia. And Sullivan is a postgraduate professor at ESPM, one of Brazil's most prestigious educational institutions, and also teaches in other renowned educational institutions like FIAP and FGV. He is co-author of the book Radical Transformation, which explains how to implement innovation methods in companies, and is the author of the book Produto Insights, which offers an in-depth and practical view of how to navigate the complex universe of digital product and business development. Wow, that was long. For me, it's always a great pleasure when I get to know people that like to think deeply and critically about things, especially nowadays that everything has become so fast and superficial. Apart from his practical experience, Sullivan has a theoretical repertoire that he actively cultivates, and it allows him to be always connecting the dots and sharing thoughtful and valuable knowledge with the community. It always has been interesting for me to observe how calmly he can deliver even the most dense ideas, and also how he uses structured thinking to unfold a wide range of subjects. I recommend you to remove the distractions and pay close attention to what he will show here today.
So yeah, so thank you so much. I'm glad to be here and for the opportunity to talk more about my journey and experience. And thank you for the kind words. I really appreciate it.
Great, man. So I think we can already go for it. This is about both product and business discovery at the same time, right?
Yeah. So let me share my screen. So yeah, let's talk about Lincoln. And um, Lincoln means life in control. And you're gonna understand the why behind this name as soon as we finish this presentation. All right. Our goal today is to go over how we did our customer discovery process and how we planned the MVP. And there are like tons of other topics we could discuss, but I will leave this as an opportunity so you can connect to me like over LinkedIn, for example, and then we can explore together. All right. The beginning. We never we never plan to pick an industry where we were like experts. When we decided to innovate in health, none of the founders had experience in health industry. We had no clue about the industry at all. But at the end of the day, great innovation comes from outsiders as well. For example, if you think about like Spotify, Airbnb, the oil, um, all of them were like the industry was shaken by outsiders who were not who were like questioning the status quo of everything. So we felt that we had actually all the tools in place to you know um, create something in this area. We just had to like put the customer in the center and then understand the problems and try to innovate. That was our beginning. We had just one desire: innovate on health industry. So uh, as we didn't know anything, the first thing we did was we mapped the healthcare value chain. That means understanding all the actors, the solution, and then as far as we knew at the time, we laid out everything that we knew. Um, Everything related to health access. What are the current journey for health? What kind of channels are available to consume health? What kind of companies we can see it? And then after we mapped all this like value chain, we started realizing that some of the companies or or solutions were super expensive. Others were like a cheap one. And as a startup trying to create and you know um, bring another point of view to the market, we knew that cash would be a concern for every startup. We don't have like unlimited resources, right? You don't have like a bunch of people and a bunch of money. So we knew at the time that defining the high cost, low cost would be important. But of course, one of the things that we could do would be like, what if we have a high cost thing and then we use the disruptive theory, which is um, taking something and turning like more affordable, more accessible, and then we try to move this high cost thing to a low cost side of the equation. And that was what we did. Um, we realized that health insurance in Brazil was only available to 25% of the population, and there was a whole opportunity to, hey, why don't we expand this for the 75% of the population that that they don't have access to it. So let's try it. And that was our start. Um, but remember, we didn't know anything about health. So okay, we then decided to do a deep research. We call it the desk research. So we read every report, studies, papers, scientific papers, and anything we can like grab our hands on. And then after like reading a lot, studying and understanding what was behind the health insurance, we created a 31-page long document where we consolidated all the learnings, every belief, every link and benchmark. So we can be between the founders on the same page when we talk about health insurance, right? And that was important because it led us for the first round of interviews. So, based on the previous document, we created a set of hypotheses and interviewed each actor of the value chain, like including patients, hospital, clinics, physicians, venture capitals, private equities, and everything. But remember, that was with the lens of health insurance. And we had great findings, and every finding were documented in a 90-page presentation, like super long but super detailed. So then we learned a lot, and we validated each hypothesis, and we validated and invalidated many of them actually. So, and it was clear to us after doing this whole journey of interviewing each actor on the value chain that health insurance was impossible in Brazil. to make it more affordable. And that was due a high regulation environment, basically. But uh, after we validated that, something emerged. We learned that patients with non-communicable disease, a non-communicable disease is like diabetes, right? You have this disease, but you cannot spread out the disease. So diabetes, hypertension, mental health issues, cancer, those are examples of non-communicable disease. They were like in need, especially when we found Lincoln. The world was going through the COVID-19 thing, so it was like 2021. So the health system was full of problems and trying to deal with the high volume of patients. So we saw an opportunity for the remote patient monitoring. So like bringing all the hospital experience, but to like the patient's home. Basically, that was the idea. So if you think about in Brazil, we can consume um, banking through a digital interface, right? So you don't need to go to your bank branch anymore. If you need like food, you have like iFood, for example, where you can like again consume it through a digital experience. But what about health? Can you consume it like through a digital experience? Not so much. That was the opportunity we saw at the time. So back again to the whiteboard. Now we had remote patient monitoring as a possible problem to address or opportunity to address. And then here we conducted the second round of interviews with patients, hospitals, clinics, physicians, VCs, private acts again. But this time the focus one on chronic patients. Non-communicable disease usually are connected to chronic disease as well. So a chronic disease is something that you can get rid of it. You have to manage it. It is through management and not for like a completely recover. Most of the time. Of course, there are exceptions here. And then like we created this validation process again. We learned a lot. We tried to, when we were talking to patients, for example, we explored people from um, from like low income to high income, rich states, poor states, different kind of um, um, context and everything, so we could get a better perspective about how it was to manage, like for example, diabetes. If you are a rich person with a great access to great hospitals and physicians, why it was when like you didn't have anything available like that. uh, and then, like after that, we identified the critical hypothesis, and that means what could kill the idea. So, if you're gonna build a remote patient monitoring, what are the things that could like instantly kill our business in day one? Right. So, after identifying this, which is a super critical thing to do when you are like starting a company, um, again, we realized that we have great findings when we address the most critical hypothesis first and identify them. But before like diving deep on this, let me share some findings we had. The first one was that non-communicable diseases are the main cause of deaths worldwide. For example, if you think about how uh, how much money is spent and basically lost um, when you are managing chronic disease, it is like mind blowing. It's 47 trillion up to 2030 here. So um, then we find like 71% of people were like uh, connected to non-communicable disease when it comes to deaths, which is a mind-blowing number. Brazil leads Latin with 74%. And then when you like go one level below, we found out that 52% of adults were diagnosed with at least one chronic disease in Brazil. And remember, we are talking about mental issues and all the other spectrum of the disease, right? And when you look at the businesses and workers, 86 or almost 87% of all work incapacities are caused by NCDs. So that was huge. Of course, there was a clear problem here. And then when we go one level down, one level further, we realized that there was 17 million people with diabetes, 38 million people with hypertension, 41 million people like facing the obesity problem. So it was clear the market was uh, let's say probably huge, right?
Yeah,
So we have to understand all the financials behind this, but it was like a great finance here.
those
But
numbers are massive, right?
yeah, definitely massive, mind blowing. Okay, so now we understand the problem in terms of financials or figures, right? But let's understand how a patient with chronic disease journey would look like. It is full of pain, definitely full of pain. For example, the first one is the lack of competence to lead the journey. And here I mean, if you have, for example, diabetes, especially diabetes types 2, you are not like fluent on the disease. So that means if like you are sitting in a restaurant and you're gonna ask for a food, if the food comes like with high glucose ingredients, so is that a good thing or bad thing if you are like eating um as a dinner? I don't know. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
an expert. I need help here. So, and what happens if you find yourself with hypoglycemia, for example? What do you do? I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I don't have like experience with it. So the lack of competence to lead the journey, and we know that most non-communicable diseases are multidisciplinary um, a problem, I would say. So that means you when you have diabetes, you probably or hypertension, you probably need psychologists, nutritionists, fitness coach. You need like nurse support, because it is a integrated function. So
Mm-hmm.
the next one is the lack of a medical integrated approach. I just mentioned that. Uh, um, so it is super important that if the nutritionist recommends something to you, that your psychologist knows about it, so he can like work on this behavior. For example,
Mm-hmm.
like you let's suppose you are having eating disorder. You don't treat this with only food. You need a psychologist helping you on the journey, along the journey. The third one is misinformation. Oh, this is so so important. Most of the low income people, they they go to social networks to ask for help, or they Google about it. So, and then they gonna share, hey, look, I have like 200 like glucose reading levels here. What I do? And then you see answers like, hey, I know my uncle when he had this, he died. so, so, oh my God, you don't only see like thoughtful information. Of course, it's a social network, so everyone is trying to help, but they don't like have the knowledge in place. So, and then you have mental problems, incorrect diagnosis, a bunch of times, and health habits are challenging. So when we talk about especially diabetes, hypertension, and obesity, we know this is something that takes time to build up, but it is what you do every day that at the end will compound on something really bad. So you have to change it. Um, and now think about it. You have like a question, you have a doubt. So what do? You can like pick up the phone and call your physician. That's for the rich people, but
Okay.
not for the ordinary people, right? So you have like none or little direct access to physicians in this case, or nurse, for example. Another problem is a long feedback loop. So whenever you see your doctor, you're gonna see him or her after 3, 6, a year, months later. But what really matters is what you do between those visits, those appointments. But
Mm-hmm.
because you do not have a like an inception, or you don't investigate what you're doing every day between those appointments, the feedback loop becomes super long actually. And so that means usually what happens between visits is that you always are adjusting medicines and for the worse, increasing the levels of I don't know the medicine you're taking, but basically you're always increasing in terms of uh, intake and use.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Trouble to book appointments and exams. You know, only 25% of the population have access to a insurance plan, a health insurance. So in this case, what happens if you don't have like a plan, insurance plan? So you're in trouble here. Oh, a
Mm-hmm.
health insurance. There is no insurance plan. This is an incorrect way to speak. The right way is health insurance. And
Mm-hmm.
then trouble to track and monitor the disease. So do you keep like your health records? I'm pretty sure most of us we do not keep them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So those were all the problems associated. So our idea was, okay, let's make this journey more um, pleasurable. Yeah, that was the idea. So now we understand the problem, right? The implications, the figures, the patient's journey, and etc. So it was time to now go a little bit further and understand what is the main persona, what is the market opportunity. So if we have to uh, put a financial symbol, a figure, what would look like, and see, okay, there is or there are people doing that in the world, and how are they doing in terms of performance. So global benchmarks were something that we found useful to explore at the time. So
Mm-hmm.
of course we found like the person, so, or the persona. So this is like just to show that we found one and we focused on this particular one at the beginning. We calculated the market size. We used the temps and zone methodology. Um, the, the, we would need another like an hour time here, so I could like go through to explain how we found those numbers. But at the end of the day, temps and zone is an art and a science.
It
But
is.
the idea is, if you are convinced about the numbers and you can easily convince your investors about the number and the rationale behind everything, you're good to go. Basically, this is the idea. And then the benchmarks. We found that in the United States, um, there was there was like huge companies doing the same thing that we was aiming for. Like Livongo was like 18 billion unicorn in the United States that was acquired by Teladoc. So, and then we saw many others like doing what we were planning to do, and that was super cool to see, which this validates that the market really needs this solution basically. So okay, the next step was plan the MVP. Um, it is important to say that uh, the MVP starts from the critical assumptions you had designed or you had found before. So, because if you do not address the most critical hypothesis first, you're going to spend money and resource to only later on your journey realize that you are missing a critical step on your journey, right? So that was what we did at the time, and we used the lean inception methodology. Uh, and between like we run the sessions between the founders and everyone was contributing to the first like version of the MVP, so we could validate um, the critical hypothesis as quick as possible, I would say. So let's talk about the MVP. At the end of the day, it was a no-code solution with 50 beta patients in a 6-month trial. So this is something curious about health. You cannot validate things super fast if patients are a part of the solution, right? You can speed the body when you are like taking medicine and let's say, okay, let's see if this medicine for, uh, I don't know, um, headaches can like solve my problem in 1 minute. No, you can do that. The
Yeah.
body has its own time.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about the MVP. For the first 50 patients, what we did, we selected them using Google Forms. We shared the Google Forms on our network. And then I was responsible to manually insert on my spreadsheet approved patients. And this spreadsheet in the future was used as a database for a no code solution. We used a product called Glide Apps, and the onboarding was used um, for the onboarding. We were using Google Meet. So uh, and then for like the in terms of the connecting you to a health team, we use WhatsApp, and we call them at the time coaches, right? So your health team, your health coaches, they were available through WhatsApp, and WhatsApp was connected to this no code app. And for every insight that the health team needed at the time, we used Google Data Studio.
Nice.
So the Google Data Studio were exporting a new like aggregate data, and then we use like a script to generate PDFs, so we could like send um, through the health codes to the patient. So for example, every interaction uh, or health data you inserted in this app would later become an overview and summary of how you were like doing manage your disease. Basically, that was the cycle. You know, you patient used the app, and then after 1 month, 2 months, or a week, you would receive a PDF explaining how you were like performing, um, managing
Nice.
your chronic disease. Yeah, as you can see, technology wasn't an issue for our hypothesis. Our critical hypothesis well, the main one was, could we deliver better health outcomes? That was the critical hypothesis. That's why we did not spend too much time on design the technology, right? So, and this slide answers everything. For example, 97% of treatment adherence rate. This is incredible. The market is about like 5% to 13%. Medication adherence in this particular case, 65%. So cholesterol reduction, 100%. And so, like this time in range, so this is for glucose levels, 88% of the time. Those numbers are incredible,
Yeah.
incredible. So that validates our hypothesis. So yeah, we had the ability to use a digital app and a health team to deliver health and improve health outcomes. Um, and then at the end of the MVP, it was so good that we were able to generate scientific publications, and um, they helped us to sell our solution. You know, when we starting like doing our go to market, we showed
Nice.
those certifications and studies and publications, so they would believe that this wasn't a company playing around. It was like a serious thing, someone who was really trying to do a great innovation using digital therapy as an alternative to the regular medicine, let's say, to take care of people with chronic disease.
Great.
Um, and after that, we were able to craft our solution. So this is the Twitch pitch at the time, complete ecosystem to take care of chronic and pre-chronic patients with diabetes and hypertension. You can see we focused on this, on those two diseases in a personalized way. Um, and that means because we use technology, we could see particular things um, that that were important to you. For example, okay, you have kids. Let's build like a nutritious guide that could address time as a concern. For example, because you don't have time because you have two kids, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So, including nutritionists, psychologists, physical activity educators, so fitness coach here, um, health coach, and health coach, I mean nurses and, and, and sometimes physicians, and technology for treatment care at every moment. So, this was what we found at the end of the day. And after that, it was time to build the product version one and do the go to market, which which we need another podcast to explain what we
Yeah.
did at the time. But the solution started as a health as a service, basically. So this is the solution before. Like the first version of Lincoln Health was health service as a service. We had an app for the patient, and then we had what we call the health OS. So this is the system where the health team manage every patient. And there was the Lincoln's team, right? Lincoln's team, again,
Mm-hmm.
psychologists, nutritionists, nurses, physicists, coaches, and etc. Right? Today, the solution is a software as a service, not health as a service. So now we sell the technology, I mean the app and the health OS as a software as a service, and our like customers are responsible to provide the health team. We found ourselves trying to sell the service, but many of the customers were asking, "Hey, can I use my health team?" So, and then we decided to like pivot to a software as a service.
Cool.
So, yeah, today, this slide shows how the apps look like and how the health OS look like. So, this is the app, and this is the dashboard, or this is the health OS dashboard. Um, so like beautiful, well designed, well crafted, so people can engage, patients can engage, and the health team can provide a better management. And I think that's all.
Nice, 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 nice. Was there anything during the process that you wish you knew before it started?
Yeah. Um, Enterprising in health requires a lot of money, Paulo, a lot of money. We usually complain about the cost of a developer, right? At least in
Mm-hmm.
Brazil.
Yeah.
But one physician, that's
Mm.
like they cost four developers, one, just one. So it is it is like a high cost business in terms of like money and etc. um, I think the link cycle is longer than the usual. You can't speed up things if you are dealing with patients, as I told you before. And regulation. Regulation is another critical thing. Is a heavy lift you have to deal with, and which slows you down a little bit down like along the journey. You can speed the regulation process and everything. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. That slide that you showed the numbers in percentages, the blue black background one was got me thinking a lot because it was very interesting because it seems like the fact that people start to track their metrics and receive a report afterwards changed completely their behavior, and it affects the outcome of their treatment,
Exactly.
right?
Right.
So there's something that it probably is common in all of these products that the user has to input information. Uh, so how do you tackle that challenge, because you depend on the user recalling that they have to input the information, and sometimes they don't. And
So this is a question I always get. Um, Let me put this way: when you have cancer, for example, do you forget to take your medicines? Probably not.
yeah,
Almost zero chance of
true,
this happening.
true.
As Lincoln was designed to take care of chronic disease, like engaged patients, they were
Mm-hmm.
not bothered to self-report data. They were looking for a better outcome. So, of course, we can always make it better. We can always improve. We can always like use a better technology. So I strongly believe that voice-driven interface are excellent solutions. Um, but when we think about the patient's journey, this is not a huge challenge or problem that you have to tackle like firsthand. Like so, we are now like working with mobile cameras, so you can take pictures or take photos of your device, and then we can like process the information and read them. Um, and that's why we connect and we designed the app around the Bluetooth technology as well, so you can connect to your Bluetooth devices. But it's still like complicated. Sometimes like taking a picture of a blood pressure monitor is like is lower than you just like writing down the results in the app, like typing, you know.
Okay, yeah.
Uh, so yeah, for sure. In terms of when you are dealing with data capturing things, I would always try and strive to create like frictionless solutions. So voice driven would be go-to for sure. Would be in our roadmap. But now we are like self-report by typing. Now we have Bluetooth device connect. Now we have um, uh, like using vision computational capabilities, so you can use your mobile camera. And then the next one would be like voice for sure. So it's a natural journey, I would say.
Yeah, but this is something that you just explore when it becomes a problem, right? If you see in your data that it's not a problem and people are putting there, it's okay.
Definitely. So most just like out of curiosity, most of our investors they were concerned about that. And when we showed the data, they were, oh my gosh, okay, I got it. This
Yeah.
is not a problem at all. And then yeah, and then we say, yeah, can you see it? So it's not an issue.
Yeah. At the same time, Lincon is collecting a lot of data, right? So could that become a new revenue stream for Lincon?
Yeah, definitely. This is an opportunity, 100%. The majority of pharmaceuticals companies would be interested in it. So they are always concerned about the medicines adoption. When I say adoption, long-term adoption. Remember, you have a chronic disease, so you're gonna pay for those like medicines for a long, long uh, time. So yeah, those kind of data around adoption is super critical, and how you are like um, managing your disease, getting better and better, and how the health outcomes connect to the usage of the medicine would be like super useful. We do not do it. We do not do this today, but would be a revenue stream for sure.
There's 2 points that it just came up when we were presenting. One actually came before. That was very interesting because along my personal journey, I came in contact with lots of entrepreneurs and it's very common for people to start their companies out of I don't know, passion and stuff like that. And you uh, gave a very pragmatic approach for business development, I can say, right?
Yeah, I can
You
relate it.
took you took the market, and so I was curious about your comments on that, and I think I'll go on with the next one, which is I found it to be very clever of you to include on the discovery the interviews with the venture capitalists. I don't see that very often, and it's something that it's I think it's a good tip for entrepreneurs out there because they have a macro view of the markets and an approach that is more they study the business from another perspective, right? And it's definitely a perspective that you as an entrepreneur should have as well, because at the end
Hmm.
of the day, you're putting out a business on the market, right? So those are the points that I'd like to have your view on.
Yeah, what a good question. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's try to unfold everything. Um, just to recollect, I was a former partner at one of the largest accelerators in Latin America, right? One of my main jobs were like researching the market in order to spot what would be the next big trend. And we learned that as an investor, you never look for like you are not connected emotionally to the companies you invest into. Actually, you like look for the figures and numbers. I think this is like a backdrop so you can understand our decision as founders to look at the problem and not like be emotionally connected to that. So we found that health, e-commerce, and transportation and logistics in Brazil were like huge markets that lacked digital transformation. So since the onset of Lincoln, we decided to found a company and think about exiting the company. We did not build the company for the long term for our like, our children and etc. So yeah, since the beginning, we committed and agreed to, hey, we're gonna start this company, solve the problem, and we're gonna sell it in the next like I don't know 5, 7, 8 years, but we're gonna sell it. In terms of venture capitals, that's a good one as well. If your business needs money, one of the critical things is people, like are people like investing money on it? But I don't know. Let's see what venture capitalists are thinking about. Let's see what private equities are thinking about. Let's see what angels investors are thinking about. So uh, let me know what are your current like problems when you invest in any health company. What are the challenges that I think the most of our concern was around covering blind spots. And venture capitalists, by essence, they study a lot of market and they are in touch with entrepreneurs all the time. So that was the idea to talk to venture capitalists. So we want to make sure we would, as soon as we hit the road, like raising money, we could find people willing to invest. Basically, that was the thing.
I knew an investor here in Rio, and he recommended me to a paper of version 1 VC. They wrote a paper about marketplaces that was just like great. It was another perspective on the business, as you know, the little mechanism that make the business thrive. And usually, when the entrepreneurs in on the daily basis, they're always very zoomed in, right?
Yeah, can I like jump in quickly and say something here? So, when you read books, you only read successful stories most of the time. The VCs, because of the nature of the business, where you invest in like let's suppose 10, but only two or one pays off everything. So they deal with many write-offs. So companies that like either they are selling the company without raising all the investment, or like companies went to like to the death path.
Uh huh.
So in this particular case, you can learn a lot. You can learn a lot by not what by what not to do and what to do.
I know that you have a vast knowledge about innovation in big companies and experiencing in that field. We already spoke a little bit about it, but there's something that I'm curious. Do you think there's a specific type of culture or management style that can become incompatible with innovation itself? You know, if it's too hierarchical, if people rely too much on authority and stuff like that, do you think that can become that can block the innovation from arising and thriving in this kind of companies?
Let's see in terms of principles. So what set of principles or things you should have in place so you can have an organization that drives innovation, right? So when I worked at ACE, we learned that there was six principles, and this was written by Pedro Van Gertner, one of my partners at the time. But of course, it wasn't from like he found those insights like working at the front line of innovation projects. It wasn't like something like made up, right? So the first one is customer centricity. This is the first principle. The second one is organizational design. So this is not so obvious as customer centricity, but organizational design is that uh, as you have a company focused on the main product, you should have another team or another structure, another management practice, another culture around innovation projects. Because one side, um, like, seeks for risk reduction, and the other side seeks for risk adoption. Let's experiment different things. So
Yeah.
you have to manage this organizational design. There is more on it, but this is basically the principle. Another one is agile management, agile methods. Okay, you know what to do, but how to do it is important as well. Thinking like an investor, this is important as well. Like making bets are super important. Another one is kill your own company, kill your own business. If you do not kill your own business, someone else will do it. So
Yeah.
it's better to be you. Right. So and then the last one is working with partners, so you can like bring faster innovation when you explore partnerships. um, the world now is so flat, you can like connect your startups around the globe to provide clever solutions. That this is for sure, if you have this practice in place inside the company, you have a great advantage against your opponent. So let's say, for example, like Google is creating a technology for autonomous cars. So, okay, if I'm Kia, for example, I can connect to Google, and now my cars become like autonomous. Does that make
Hmm.
sense? So you can like bring fast innovation to the market if you like work with partners. It is impossible to have all of them in place and working perfectly. Usually you have one, two, or three, but the idea is pick some and work on it. That's the idea.
Once I was writing on my LinkedIn bio, kind of reflecting back, and I noticed that there was some time that I felt that my mind kind of expanded when I had contact with certain subjects. This happened back in the days when I first had contact with design, which is my background, and then when I learned about product management. The first guy that I saw speaking about it was Dan Olson. This was when I was with the startup, and I kind of felt the mind expanding a little bit, and I was curious to know if that happened to you as well, and if not, how you became interested in entrepreneurship and this world.
So, yeah, good question. It made me think a lot about it. So I see myself as someone who loves reading. So I'm a voracious reader. So that means whenever I have a chance, I will share. a book with you about any sort of subject, actually. So, to answer your question, I would like to begin talking about a book. I'm reading now a book called Why Greatness Cannot Be Planned by Kenneth Stelling and Joel Lehman. So this book is about um, it explains that you never know the next step. It is completely unclear. So, okay, you can have a goal, but if you have an ambitious goal, you never know the next step. So, for example, the very first computer was built with vacuum tubes, right? But no one was exploring vacuum tubes for computer. It was like people like Thomas Edison that was playing around like with electricity, and then like in 1904, a physicist was exploring vacuum tubes as well to manage radio waves, and then only then people working in computer industry saw an opportunity that the vacuum tubes maybe could be a viable technology to create um, such thing. So I see that it is connected to our journey as well. You never know the next step for your journey. So, and we call this like stepping stones. I had many in my life. So, like when I discovered technology, sales, and then startups, and then innovation, and then products, I never planned to really explore them. Like um, you know, uh, I'm here now. Hey, I'm gonna explore technology. No, it wasn't like that. For example, I became interested in technology because I was playing on Counter Strike on my PC. The old generation will remember that, but it was because of that I became interested in innovation because I started working with startups, and then I saw how chaotic is the process of discovering customer needs, and it's a complex process. So basically, that's it. I see myself uh, like you having those moments of mind expansion, and for sure. So I connected to this kind of you never know the next step, so embrace it and go for it.
I could go on forever here with talking with Sullivan, but we have to respect his time and where people
Mm.
can get in touch with you.
Yeah, so yeah, the best way is LinkedIn. So you can find me there, and like just drop me a message, and and we can talk, and we gonna like exchange opportunities and knowledge and experience. I'm an open-minded guy, and I'm super open for connections as well. And I'm always willing to help, always willing to help. So if you are asking for a genuine thing, I'm always gonna answer. If you're like trying
Perfect.
to sell cell phone plans, I won't respond. But if you're like talking about innovation, startups, and product management, I will be there for you.
Same here. Thanks a lot, Sullivan. Whenever possible, we will put also the links of the books. Appreciate all the time that you spent with us together, and we'll keep in touch asynchronously as usual.
Sure. Once again, I'm glad to be here. Congratulations for the project, and I can relate that we are really missing knowledge from end to end when we talk about product management. Everyone talk about like piece of the journey, but seeing the whole story is a different thing. And congratulations for the initiative. Uh, I'm already a fan.
Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.